The Story of Aitch. The light came in through the large windows of the classroom, while the boys listened to the teacher. Many were waiting for the bell to ring, to be able to go out into the yard, to run and play. The master himself felt the lack of interest of his pupils and struggled to get their attention. That day, even Aitch could not wait to go out to enjoy the fresh, brisk spring air. Sometimes the teacher's lessons were quite interesting, and Aitch asked lots of questions, but sometimes Aitch annoyed the teacher with his curiosity. For example, when the master explained how the atmosphere around the earth gave the blue color to the sky, Aitch asked, "So, but why blue and not purple or some other color?" And the teacher, who had not prepared the lesson well, replied, "Why are bananas yellow?" And the class burst out laughing. Another time, Aitch asked, "So, why do we need to learn things through books?" The master was left speechless for a moment, but then he began to scrutinize the students with a hand over his eyes in the manner of a red Indian, and said, "Why do Indians do that?" Nobody could answer, so the teacher covered his eyes with his hand and gave the answer. "Because if they did that, they would not be able to see." Everyone laughed for a long time. For his way of asking so many questions, the other boys said that Aitch should be called Doppio, echoing the sound of his surname. But they did not understand that Aitch was a special person, because he had a truly inquiring mind. The years passed, and Aitch grew up. One summer morning at dawn, Aitch got up and went into the kitchen to drink a glass of water. He filled the glass and drank a mouthful. While the water entered his mouth and passed into his body, it enthralled him. Aitch lifted the glass of water and looked as the sunlight passed through it. He turned the glass slowly and gently, then put a finger into the liquid. He sniffed it. He listened to it. He took another sip, and he realized that it fascinated him. He spat carefully into the palm of his hand, and with great curiosity he examined the saliva. He began to wonder what this substance was, and decided to do everything to understand it and discover its true nature. He took a plane and flew all around the world, looking in wonder at the clouds, the glaciers, the snow, the oceans, the seas, the lakes, the rivers, the brooks, the streams. He took a long trip on a ship and sailed many seas. He even travelled under the waves in a submarine and marvelled at everything that he saw there. He discovered the multiple uses that water was put to, how it was used to irrigate fields, how it helped the trees, plants, and flowers to grow. He contemplated how it was used by industry to produce all sorts of goods that were then sold. He saw how it started crystal clear and pure in the mountains, and then, too often, as it flowed down to the sea, it became more and more dirty, more and more polluted by human activity, by human greed and neglect, and he felt sad. He observed how water abounded in some places and then was wasted, and other places where it was scarce, and this made people's lives hard. He walked in the rain and on frozen water. He rolled in the snow. He swam naked underwater. And he was always tremendously fascinated and excited by all that he saw and felt. Many years passed. One winter day, Aitch was walking along a road, looking at the puddles that the recent rain had left. A man who was waiting for a bus called Aitch. Aitch did not know him, but the man, who looked a little like his old schoolmaster, had heard of his long search and said to him, "It took a long time to go on your investigative journey, and you did and saw many things. Explain to me what water is, so I too can understand." Aitch thought deeply for rather a long time. All the things he had seen and experienced passed through his heart, and he was moved. But how could he explain all this in words? In the end, he held up his palm, and with great care and delicacy, spat out a little saliva. Touching it gently with his finger, he said, "You see, water is a bit like this." The man impatiently looked at his watch. In half an hour, the big match began on TV, and then there was his favourite quiz. At that moment, the bus arrived, and he got on. As he went home, he thought, "That H2O is a fool, and his story is totally absurd. It took him many years to study and understand water, and in the end, all he can teach me is what I already know."